After 12 years and nearly 300 episodes, The Big Bang Theory finally wrapped up its run on CBS earlier this year. I'm Zach Laws of Gold Derby, and with me now is Mark Cendrowski and Steve Holland. Mark is the director of over 200 of those episodes, and Steve is the writer of about 200 of those episodes. They both worked on the series finale. And gentlemen, let me just ask you, what kind of pressure did you feel to send this off with, no pun intended, a big bang?
A lot of pressure. I mean, not just because we knew that people, because there was such a big fan base and people were looking to it, but because the show meant a lot to us and these characters meant a lot to us. And it was important for us to send these characters and these actors off on a high note.
Yeah, and I think it was the pressure kind of shifted. I think you guys had to deal with it first,
right,
with story ideas, how we're going to do this, developing, and then it was kind of handed over to me to take it home and make sure that we got through it and handled it the right way with through the tone, through the acting, and through making sure it was still funny.
Well, Steve, let me start with you. All right, so how did you guys know that this was the right way to end it?
I mean, honestly, we talked about a lot of things, and this is just what felt right to us. And we're sort of aware that there were people, fans of the show, who had things that they expected to see. And we tried to sort of put that out of our minds at a certain point and just write the finale that we felt was right. And I think some of our wish list and fans' wish list hopefully lined up. But at the end of the day, when we were talking about it, what really felt right was to not put a period at the end of this sentence, that these people were still going to live their lives. We had what felt like a big emotional climax, but like, it felt good to us that the next day, even though you're not going to see it, these characters were going to get up and go to work together and their lives were still going on. And that felt really comforting to us because it was hard to say goodbye. So knowing that they're still out there in the world and they're still friends felt really right and good for us.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest feedback that that I received afterwards, is that it wasn't a final episode. It wasn't the finality of it. It was an emotional episode and it tied a lot of things together. But just as our lives kept going the next day, you felt that these characters kept going the next day.
And we talked about it in the room, and it felt like we didn't need to invent more stakes for emotion. Like, it was going to be emotional just because it was the audience's last time to be with these characters. So we didn't feel like we needed to add or come up with anything extra of like the building's getting knocked down or someone got a job and might be moving away. All that felt extraneous.
Well, I think that what it does really well, and I went back and rewatched some of the episodes from the first season, including the very first one. It really does do a good job of, really tying together the emotional relationships between these characters and sort of the journey of Sheldon as a character and Leonard and Penny's relationship and everybody's kind of relationships with each other. So I think that's. Watching it, I thought, okay, that's what they're doing, as opposed to any of these sort of big things that you were talking about there.
Yeah, I think the key word there is what you say is journey, because it really was a journey from year one. Everything was done organically. These characters grew. We got to know them more, and just the way our lives change through marriages, through divorces, through new friendships, through travel, whatever happened came out organically in the writing, and we followed their journey. And it wasn't like, oh, let's stunt cast and let's have this happen and let's have them go to Hawaii and some of the old tricks that used to be done in shows.
Well, you do have them travel to Stockholm, which isn't although it's not
right here at Warner Brothers.
But again, I mean, it makes sense because they are scientists, and he's going to accept the Nobel Prize. So there is sort of a character, journey there, a goal that he's achieved. Talk a bit about just sort of putting the episode together, because you've got stuff in in Stockholm. You've got things that are kind of a lot of different moving parts. Was it a difficult episode to put together?
I mean, it was a big episode. We had 2 sound stages, which is rare for us. So the whole Nobel set, which was gigantic, and like the art department and set dressers and lighting and everyone just like really got to go out on a high note with that beautiful set.
Yeah, production wise, it was a little bit of a chess match in that we took an extra day to shoot it, simply because of the emotions involved, traveling to different sets. and the immensity of the show itself, and making sure that if someone got a little emotional, we could take our time and dry some eyes and reshoot it again. But it really was about the scheduling then, because bringing in 400 extras or how many we had for Sweden,
had to be in tux and tails and ball gowns,
right? And so just the immensity of trying to dress them and get those people ready, shooting on a plane set, which was a tricky little thing to do, having 8 characters on a plane and having different things happen. So it was a lot of scheduling that went into it, and juggling those 3 days to where we could still shoot, I don't know, I think we did 6 or 7 scenes in front of the audience.
Yeah. Well, talk a bit about that last day of shooting in front of the audience. I got to be there, so I got to see you guys shoot your very last scene in front of the audience. But I wonder what it was like for you guys, who have worked on the show for so long. What was that like for you? Take us there.
I think the moment there's a couple moments that will stick with me forever. And one is the very last scene in front of the audience. Like, we shot the last scene in front of the audience, and the last scene of the show was a playback. It was the Nobel Prize ceremony, and the cast had asked if we could wait to roll it back for the audience so they could get changed out of costume and come sit with us.
Right.
And so that last moment, the writers and Mark and the AD team and the cast all gathered around the monitor with the audience there, and we watched that last playback together. And that was a really powerful moment for me.
I will say the cast did better than I thought they might do in holding it together, because you'd been seeing sparks of it for weeks about, oh my gosh, Will Wheaton was on the episode three from the end, and at the end of the day, at one point he went, oh my goodness, this is the last time I'm going to be here. And he starts crying, and the cast starts getting emotional, and the crew is like, oh, giving hugs. And I'm like, oh man, this could be the whole night of that. But luckily everyone was like, no, we're still got a job to do. We're still doing a show. We still have to perform. And I think the only time that it scared me was the living room scene, which wasn't the last scene, but it was the last scene they were all in it together. And we did one take, I think, when Kunal then said, oh, I just realized this is the last time we're all going to be doing this together. And I was like, oh, no, stop. No, wait, let me get one more take. Hold on, do it afterwards. And trying to run in and make sure we weren't bawling. But it was just a nice group little hug, and we got through it pretty well.
That was one of the scenes I got to see when I was in my little rotation there. And I didn't even realize that was going to be the last time they were all together. Yeah. So then realizing it afterwards, you think, oh, man, I feel like I've witnessed some sort of history. Tell us a little bit about what really struck me being in that audience was seeing the fans react to it. And there was this beautiful little moment where Johnny and Kaylee came out and thanked the fans after they had shot most of this stuff. And you see all these people crying and all these people who have invested so much of their life into this show. What does it mean for you guys to know that there's this huge fan base of people who all wanted to be a part of your last episode?
I mean, it means the world. That's honestly, Johnny and Kaylee said it, and it's true. It's the only reason we got to do this show for 12 years. And it's a show that we love, not just for the show and the characters, but just the work experience. I mean, honestly, it was such a great place to work.
Right.
And we only got to do that for this long because those fans were so invested, because they followed us all these years, because when there was a million shows on television, they still made a point of tuning into this one every single week.
And we felt, I mean, I really think this started year one. When you go back and you look at the signs, and we had people, once the show was on the air, showing up in costume. And this is the first year of a show. This is before people have sunk their teeth into it. A lot of people may have heard of it, never watched it or watched it once. And here we have people showing up in lab coats, people that already know the words to Soft Kitty, people that have shirts made up with sayings on it. And it was like, wow, these people are invested, and these people love these characters, and it got nothing but better throughout the 12-year run.
Now, you both, this is an Emmy submission episode for both of you. I think that this is probably a bit of an obvious question, but I wonder why this one was what you guys both chose to submit personally.
Well, for directing wise, it was a big episode, as we said, and for multicam doesn't usually do that. And I think for directing, there's something to be said about all aspects of a show, that you get a performance out of an actor, that it's shot properly, technically you handle things, and the emotion of it all worked. And I couldn't think of a better episode for me because it had all of those aspects on many levels. And that was something I heard from that night when we finished, through the next couple of weeks, or once people saw it, it was like, wow, that was amazing. I cried. And there's no better compliment than that, to say, wow, we did something that affected people that much, that you could get someone to cry and laugh in the same night. You know, it's worth it.
I think for me, it was certainly the episode I stressed about the most. It was the episode I thought about the most. And finales are hard. It always feels like a big high wire act to pull off this thing that is satisfying and surprising. And I was so proud of the way that it came out. That was definitely, it really just felt like this, like you said, I think it had humor and it had heart. And it just was an episode that I was incredibly proud of, and hopefully people really liked it and felt it was a satisfying conclusion.
Well, Mark, you got your first Emmy nomination just last year for the season 11 finale, and Steve, you've been nominated a few times as a producer in the Comedy Series category. What has that recognition meant for you guys, and not just for you, the nominations for you personally, but Jim has won 4 Emmys, Bob Newhart's won. You've gotten a few other nominations for acting and tech stuff. What does it mean overall, that recognition?
Wow, it means everything. I mean, the validation of in a way, the validation of your work, of what you strive for, is what comes out. Is what makes it worth it. We being involved. I mean, I've been involved on a lot of shows, and lucky enough that this show, being a part of Jim's, being there for him with winning, and the tech crew, the camera crew won one year, which I was so proud of, because I was a part of that, and being part of that fabric means everything. And I think it'll mean more, actually, 20 years from now, when I look back and people still will be talking about these episodes, or this particular episode, or this finale, when other shows are ending their thing. And I have a feeling they'll point to this episode and go, that's how you're supposed to end a show.
Right. For both of you, working with one of the other great moments from that finale taping was right when they were doing the little clapper. One of the people who did that was Chuck Lorre, who created the show with Bill Prady. Working with those two guys, what has that collaboration been like? What is it like to work with these two guys?
It's amazing. I mean, Chuck taught me. I learned more on this show as a writer. I've done this for 25 years. I think I learned more on this show than any show ever. He just has a very like sort of no nonsense approach to it. Very character first. If he has a really good bullshit detector, where if something smells like a character would do this, you're doing this to get to the joke, he'll call you on it all the time. And so it really made us keep this show. I think it's easy for shows, especially in their later years, to get bigger and broader. And like he really forced us to work hard to keep the show grounded, to keep it based on the characters. And I think that was the lesson that we really took into the finale, is let's make this not about plot, so much. Let's make this a character journey.
Yeah, it's the same thing on the production side. When we're shooting in front of an audience, we get to a point, it's like you say, I always said he's very surgeon-like. When we get into scenes, it's like, hey, we don't need this couplet. The scene ends here. Yeah. Or I'd be trying to do something fancy with a cameraman. He goes, you don't need that. Simplify it. That's not our show. That's not what this show is. And so it was getting to know one another, sort of like a head coach, general manager, being able to combine on and making that team play its best is the way I always, the sports analogy I always use.
So I know one question that any fan that's going to be watching this video is going to be begging me to ask. So I've saved it to the end. Do you think that there's any chance that maybe there would be a revival somewhere down the line?
I don't know. I honestly, who knows what the future holds? I kind of hope not right now, looking at it. I feel like we managed to do a really tricky thing, which was end this long running show and end it, I think, on a high note. And we should take that win and walk away. I can't imagine where we would go next from here. And I feel like sometimes because it's so loved, it's easy to want to open this back up and play some more with these characters, but I feel like sometimes it's better just to walk away and like close the book on this and let that be the end.
Yeah, and I think if anything does happen down the line, it's not going to be tied to this, where we're hanging on to the tail of this whirlwind that just happened, and it's not really over. We're gonna spin this or do this and do this special or do whatever. It'll be its own thing, whether it be a character driven or look back or whatever.
You got to give it a little bit of time before you, you know. Before I let you both go, let me ask you. I mean, since you both have worked on this show from the very beginning, what has it meant to you? How has this show changed you as a writer and a director?
I mean, I came in season 3, so Mark was here.
I'm much older.
The show's been on for so long, it might as well be season 3 might as well be the beginning.
Professionally, you know, not only did I think I became a much better writer here, it was my first time, you know, running a show, was on this show. So it gave me incredible opportunities. It gave me a steady job for 10 years when my kids were, you know, 8 to, you know, now they're both in college. Like, I mean, I can't overstate how important the show was. Personally, I made amazing friendships here. There's people that I'm incredibly close to that are like family. Like, you really, it's one of the most important things that's ever happened in my life.
Yeah, I would have to concur. I've been doing in this for over 30 years in one aspect or another. Much older. Yeah. As a stage manager and an AD, and have worked in sitcoms since like 1983 or so. And this is what you dream about. Every year, I would work on shows that would be canceled after 12 episodes or after 6 episodes, then get a pick up and, you know, this is it. And the pilot wouldn't even be picked up. And you never knew where that next job was coming from. And the dream was always to get on a long running show. And I did a couple shows for 2-3 years, and that was heaven, knowing going away for the summer, knowing, I can go back to work and I can put food on the table and the kids will go to school. And so here, not only was it knowing you're coming back to work, you were coming back to something that was great, something that was funny, something that you enjoyed coming back to. It wasn't dreading coming back, another year doing this crap. It was a blast, and I couldn't wait to get back. It was certainly on the stage and with the people, my relationship with the people in the office. There's people I love and care deeply about. And so that's probably what I will miss the most. But it really has been a dream come true for anybody who's worked in this sitcom world. A long running show is the best.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both so much, and congratulations on your work. I think you left the fans satisfied. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thanks to all of you at home for watching. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below, and make sure you visit goldderby.com for all the latest